Good.
Good morning. I'd like to call this morning's Orange County Transportation Council Planning Committee meeting to order. And I guess we'll start with introductions. Alan Sorensen, MPO Director.
Jacob Wheel, Commissioner of Public Works, City of Middletown.
Al Fusco Engineering.
Charlie Carnes, Town of Crawford Supervisor.
Denise Quinn, Town of Wawayanda Supervisor.
Tony Cardone, Town of Monroe Supervisor.
Sandra Jobson with New York State Department of Transportation.
Lauren Bennett, OCTC staff.
Rob Harrington, Orange County Planning Department.
Rena.
Raina Tawil, OCTC staff.
Okay, next I'll ask Lauren just to acknowledge those members who joined us via Zoom.
Yes, so I have Burton Thielander, Herb Litz, Nicole Farmer, NISA Region 8, David Gilmore. David, can you just leave your association or agency in the chat, please? I have Hal Stewart Fisher from the Newburgh TAC. Jason, I'm guessing this is Jason Morris from the City of Newburgh. Okay, people keep joining. Joshua Wojciechowski from the Town of Cornwall Supervisor. Jessica Ridgway, OCTC staff. I have John Ravella from the Village of Walden. Laura Ripley from New York State Thruway Authority. Michael Amabile from Creighton Manning. Michael Sweeten, from Town of Warwick Supervisor. Michael Weeks. Moisha Gruber, Supervisor Gerolman, who's from the Town of Blooming Grove, I believe.
Town of Blooming Grove.
Thank you. Travis Ewald, Orange County DPW, David Lake from South TCC, and I have one phone number ending in 3867. Who is that, please?
This is Kathleen Rooney with the Parish Group, coming at the request of Kira Stroll.
Thank you. This is a long list of online participants. Did I miss anyone?
Olu Folaran MTA.
Thank you, Olu.
Olu.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Okay, I think that concludes our introductions and call to order. Next, I'd like to go on to provide an opportunity for public comment. Are there any members from the public who would wish to speak?
My name is Bert Thielander. I would like to speak briefly.
Okay, Bert, please go ahead.
I'm a member of the Pathways Committee, and we have spoken with OCTC in the past, and I just want to briefly recognize your funding to support trail development, non-motorized transportation options in Orange County, and in particular, the stage 3 of the Heritage Trail and the Shenandoah Trail funding. So we're very grateful for those opportunities. We've talked with Alan and other folks in the county about other railroad grade opportunities. One is like the Minnesink way on to Slade Hill Railroad grade that we've tried to support development of. And there's also railroad grade opportunities in Western Orange County, town of Deer Park, that we'd like to promote opportunities to fund when opportunities arise. Also, I noticed on your agenda, you have a carbon reduction program funding component. We've talked with you in the past about the occurrence of extreme weather, climate change impact, and we'd like to really promote your desire to reduce use of non-renewable energy sources for transportation and think about other opportunities to use renewable resources. So we will continue to talk with you about those opportunities. And again, we're very grateful for your support of Shenandoah and stage 3 of the Heritage Trail. And we want to talk with you more in the future about other opportunities. So, thank you very much.
Bert, thank you. Are there any other members from the public who would wish to speak?
Mr.
Yes.
Litz?
Oh, Mr. Litz,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, are you gonna give an update on the Bridge New York and Culvert New York?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yeah, DOT representatives are here, and so yes, Sandra's here. So later in the program.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the acceptance of the meeting transcript of November 29th, 2022. Just want to inform the members that a revised version of the transcript was sent out to members for review on January 30th. We received one other revision to add Gedalia to the meeting participants that will be updated. Harry, we also added, there was some additional part of the transcript at the end of the meeting that we added. So those were the changes. But for the members of the committee, are there any comments on the meeting transcript?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion. Jacobs made motion, second.
Actually,
Motion.
I was here too in person. I came
Oh,
in late.
okay. So let's, Raina, if you can make a note that
Absolutely.
we will add
We
that
did.
Denise Quinn also participated in the meeting.
Absolutely.
Are there any other recommended revisions? Okay, I'll just ask for a motion to accept the revision.
I'll make it.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay. Then all those in favor of the transcript as amended?
Aye.
Fine.
Aye.
I have to abstain, I'm not here.
All right, thank you. The transcript has been adopted. Next item on the agenda is the Transportation Improvement Program. And I'm going to ask Lauren to get us started in that. And Lauren?
Yeah, so we have two actions today. The first is an OCTC tip amendment, OCTC 23-02. And for those that haven't heard, the STIP was adopted, so we are now, the OCTC 2023-2027 is the current tip. So this is the second action on that tip. There are two projects. The first is the Storm King Mountain Drainage and Median Variant improvements. It is a New York State DOT project. They're adding 10.85 million for wall improvements and construction funds. This funding is being offset from PIN 881631 on the Mid Hudson South TCC tip. And Sandra, did you have anything to add on that project?
No, just that, the increase is because we're actually adding another, portion of wall along Route 9W to repair. We had gone out to bid on a wall repair project, and I don't recall the specifics, but something went wrong with, I don't know, the bids we received or something, but anyway, we're incorporating that work now into this contract rather than rebidding again as its own project. So that's kind of where that big increase in cost comes from.
Great, thank you, Sandra. The second project is a new PIN 8CO005, which is a purchase of a bus wash in the town of Warwick. So this is a new project being added, and its offset is from the FTA 5307 block funds. And Rob, did you have anything to add on that project?
That's pretty straightforward, but if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Any questions from either project or either project sponsor? Okay, hearing none. So the next steps, this will go out for a 14-day public comment period, and we will ask the council to consider action at the next policy board meeting on February 28th. Okay, so the next the next action is administrative modification OCTC 23-B. There's one project on, it's PIN 876016. And this action comes out of the STIP performance. We talk with the project sponsors, and based on where they're at in the project now, we don't think that construction going to construction in FY '23 is in the schedule. So the project sponsor has agreed to move the construction out to 2024 with the understanding that if they are for some reason ready to go, we can always move that back in this year. So we want to thank the village of Highland Falls for coordinating with staff on this. And there's no further action required.
Okay, with respect to local project updates, I just want to give a brief update on the Scunnamunk Trail. In terms of some milestones, we've completed our categorical exclusion worksheet that's been submitted to FDA. They're currently reviewing that. The county legislature has declared its intent to serve as lead agency on the property acquisition. And so we'll be completing the seeker work on that, and then in the coming months, be moving to move forward with the acquisition. Also, concurrently, we're working on an RFP for the design of the Scunnamunk Rail Trail. And I'm hoping that by our next meeting at the end of February, I can advise that the RFP has gone out and that we're getting closer to getting a design consultant on board. But the project is moving forward. Just want to thank the council members for the ongoing support, and we'll keep you posted as the project advances. Are there any other project sponsor updates? Local project sponsor updates?
Alan, this is Mike Sweeten.
Yes.
So our bike hike project, which was a earmark project that's languished for lack of funding, seems like it's going to get done now, thanks to the county and our legislators for helping us form a partnership with the Parks Department. So it looks like that's going to happen. We'll go out to bid again and hopefully get that built summer, fall.
Mike, thank you. Now, is there still a, are you thinking about coming back to the council to seek additional funds or?
Well, there was possibility, right? We talked about some other options, but I don't think we're going to ask any council members to delay things. So.
Right. So we're going to talk about the carbon reduction program later. So at that point, I can talk about it in that context.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. If there are no further local project updates, and then we're going to go to and ask Lauren to provide an overview of our 23-24 Unified Planning Work Program. Lauren?
Thanks, Alan. Yeah, so the Unified Planning Work Program, I'll refer to it moving forward as the UPWP, is one of the 3 core required MPO products. It presents the annual work program for the Orange County Transportation Council. It describes planning activities program to be undertaken in support of the vision, goals, and objectives of the OCTC's long-range transportation plan. And the OCTC is the MPO that is responsible for coordinating transportation activities within the county. Just to give you a brief summary, at the November meeting, we gave an overview of what the UPWP is and the update process. So we shared some regional priorities. We gave the opportunity for the members to give feedback, and then we gave a timeline on the update. Today, we will be looking at some of the actual review of the draft UPWP, the funding estimates, the tasks, which went out with the meeting materials. We'll also go through the budget development and kind of walk through what the budgets are in each of the tables, how to read them. And then finally, an overview of the public participation process and opportunities for the public to comment. So brief funding overview. So the annual allocations, we get new funding every year for the program. It comes in 2 sources. There's the Federal Highway Administration's or FHWA's Metropolitan Planning Funds, or PL funds. So I'll say PL funds, that just means the Federal Highway. And then the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, Section 5303 Metropolitan Planning Program funds, which is MPP funds. So we received just over 77,000 in PL funds, and just over 170,000 in MPP funds for this year. That's an increase for the PL funds at approximately 4% over last year. And it's a big bump. It's almost 30% for the MPP funds over last year's allocations. The federal carryover, so any money that is not spent is known as the backlog, and that rolls over into the next UPWP year. So we estimated approximately 2.4 million in backlog funding. And then the total funding estimates is the annual allocations for the PL and MPP funds plus that carryover. So the next slide is just the draft trends of the federal funding for OCTC's UPWP. At the bottom there, the bar graphs, you have the blue is the FHWA PL fund allocations. The orange is the FTA MPP fund allocations. So the gray is just the combination of those two annual allocations per year. And then the yellow up top is the estimated overall funding. So the gap in between is the backlog from year to year. We do have a large backlog this year. That's mainly, we plan to spend that down on some of the upcoming projects coming up, like the Route 17M study, the LRTP update. So it will be spent. The next, so we identify 3 types of planning priorities in the UPWP narrative. And these guide not only our long-range transportation plan, but also our UPWP as well. So those include the 10 federal planning factors. And in the draft, there is a table that shows each of the tasks and how they meet the different planning federal factors. The next is the planning emphasis areas. Those are developed from the US DOT, and that just guides our future planning work. So those are listed out on the slide. And then lastly, we have the local planning priorities, and I'll pass it over to Alan to talk about those.
So our local planning priorities include planning to accommodate a safe, accessible, and connected multimodal transportation system through motorized, non-motorized, and transit planning, and incorporating the growing population of Orange County and the impact of future housing developments on the transportation system, as well as how to integrate emerging technologies such as electric vehicles into the future infrastructure in Orange County. Orange County will continue to support the implementation of complete streets through the Orange County Transportation Council staff assistance on the Complete Streets Working Group. Due to the evolving role of the global supply chain during COVID pandemic and the increase in recent warehouse developments in Orange County, the Transportation Council will continue to look at regional and local impacts of freight planning in the Hudson Valley. Other priorities include improving safety, resiliency, congestion management, and air quality, as well as supporting performance-based planning and programming targets adopted by the Transportation Council. We will look to implement these tasks through a mix of staff-led efforts and consultant-supported studies. Staff levels are anticipated to increase in the coming this year to better support our programs. Like a number of agencies, we've been a little short-staffed, but we are recruiting. The consultant-led studies include Route 17 and Route 6 Transportation Corridor Study. I've drafted the RFP. It's going through the process of being reviewed, and so hopefully that will be coming out very shortly. And we will be issuing a RFP for the long-range transportation plan. The one plan that we didn't mention, and it's in our pipeline, so I want to assure Mike that we haven't forgotten about it, is a county-wide transit feasibility study. So it's in the docket. There's just, but we got a pipeline of things.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am going to turn it back over to Lauren to talk about the task development.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. So I just want to briefly walk through how we develop tasks and also how to read the UPWP portion of the tasks. So there are 4 elements that go into task development. The first is what's being billed to the task. So this can include consultant support, staff support, a combination of both, purchases of equipment, travel. So all the costs go into but estimating the budget. We also look at what funding is going to be used, whether that's the FHWA PL funds, the FTA MPP funds, or a combination of both. We look to what we're going to deliver in the next year in the annual program. So that's listed within the deliverables. And then finally, there's a schedule. So there can be two types of task timelines. There can be an ongoing activity. So that's more of just planning efforts. And then specific project timelines is the other option. So that will be laid out in the schedule row. So the next portion is how the task budgets are shown. So you'll see each task has the budget estimate up top. There's a federal, state, and local portion. The federal share is nominally 80% for both the PL and MPP funds. The state is nominally provides 3/4 of the non-federal match, and it's either shown through toll credits for the PL funds or in-kind services for the MPP funds. Both are non-cash from the county perspective. And it's subsequently reimbursed by NISDOT. And then the last is the local, which is Orange County provides the local match via county taxation. So the combined federal, state, federal and non-federal will be the budget for each task. So just a brief task overview of some of the changes. So we deleted 4 tasks. The demographic data and forecasting, the West Central Transportation and Land Use Study, the electrical vehicle assistance, and the New York Association of MPOs. 3 of those tasks have just been combined into existing tasks. They've been deleted because of billing. There wasn't enough being billed to that line, or just for administrative purposes. The work is still being done. It's just being done through existing tasks. And then the last, the West Central Transportation Land Use Study, that is being deleted because the study has been completed. And we added 1 new task to the UPWP. That's the Connecting Communities task, and I'll throw it over to Alan to explain that task.
Lauren, thank you. This is a topic that we've had ongoing within the department discussions. And I want to thank Lauren for just suggesting to add this as a specific task to the Unified Planning Work Program. One thing that we're trying to do through the Transportation Council in terms of planning is to ensure that we're not looking at our transportation system in a vacuum. So if we're looking at housing developments, if we're looking at bicycle pedestrian connections, that we're looking at it in a holistic manner so that we have opportunities to better connect places where people live to where they work without the need to hop in a car and drive there. If they can get there via bicycle or walking, so much the better. You know, one thing that caught my attention with the governor's housing proposal is her focus on transit-oriented development. And I think, you know, we have a unique opportunity if we start looking at things in a holistic manner to identify opportunities to create places rather than isolated enclaves of housing. And so that's one of the things we want to look at through this task. It's also will be a component of the Route 17 and Route 6 Transportation Corridor Study. We'd like to look, you know, within that corridor, are there some opportunities for, you know, creating places where there would be jobs, housing, and other employment opportunities. So I think we have an opportunity between funding coming through the infrastructure bill, as well as Governor Hochul's initiatives on housing to maybe connect some of these opportunities and begin to create places rather than isolated housing where people got to drive 20 miles to get to their work. That's 30 miles away. So it's a very long-winded way of saying kind of what that task is all about, but that's part of the objective.
But I would think, Alan, regarding Governor Hochul's proposal, that you might have brought up a good point there. The bad point there is home rule and working with the local boards in towns and cities and not her stepping in and telling them what to do and overruling home rule. I would be highly opposed to that.
Well, I can tell you, we did a zoning change last year and the number of people that came out against multifamily housing was unbelievable.
And
Understood.
I'll concur with that because we have a couple of projects before our planning board and our town board now, and the same is true. We're getting some opposition from it.
Yeah,
Some
I
of it,
get-
I think it's justified as far as the project, not the opposition. But I think it's definitely something that has to be considered.
I think, I'm just gonna, keep my planner hat on and, I think we're gonna need to have conversation. But I think, there are some really good opportunities for transit-oriented development. I know there was a proposal down in Harriman a number of years ago. It's pretty far advanced. One of the things that we're doing internally with the planning staff is to take a look at the train stations along the Port Jervis line, see where there are opportunities for TOD. It's not as simple as it looks. When you start looking at it through the microscope, you realize, well, you can take a half-mile radius around the station, but one side of the station's on one side of the tracks, and getting to the other side of the tracks becomes a bit of a challenge. So it almost limits you to one side of the tracks, unless you have very expensive pedestrian crossings over the rail lines. And then, like example, I took a close look at Campbell Hall. You begin to get in competing interests because there's a beautiful equestrian facility right there. So if you're and there's not currently water and sewer infrastructure. So, but I think where there are opportunities to embrace the TOD, and it's already starting, is in the town of Wallkill.
Right.
There's water
Galleria.
and sewer infrastructure. I believe the 239 units of multifamily housing that's proposed there.
Mhm.
It's a good complement. The residential will help to support them all. You have access to transit. Of course, I think there's opportunities to enhance the connections between that development and the train station. But I've gone way off on a tangent to my property.
But I also think the transit needs to be more reliable. My son took it because he was going to school at John Jay. And he also worked at the college, and it was not reliable. We would get there and it wasn't even posted on the app that the train was canceled. It just
my goodness,
needs to
yeah.
be far more reliable.
One thing, which Rob and I can speak to is we're wrapping up the redesign of Middletown transit system, the bus transportation system. And, in going into that redesign, we specifically asked the consultant team to think outside the box. We recognize there are opportunities to better connect residents to places of employment, to services, to the hospital. And, as we get to the final stretch of that, I think it'd be a good idea for us to report back to a future planning committee here to let you know the findings. But I think, and that actually has a better, we'll have a bus connection, local bus connection also to the train station. So, that's an enhancement as well. So.
Or directly to New York City from short line.
Well, yes, yeah.
That's
There's a
far
commuter-
more reliable than the train is,
Yeah.
and quicker usually.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'm hoping, I read this morning where the Gateway project is advancing, the new tunnels into the city, and maybe we can get an update from someone on that, but it's my understanding that when that's completed, it could shave a half hour off the commute time from the service on the Port Jervis line, which would be
A
just
big
another-
benefit.
a big benefit to communities west of Hudson.
Just had one comment from Bert, said, very grateful to hear about multimodal transportation focus and value of bicycle pedestrian opportunity and connection with transit options, bus, train, etc. And Mike Sweden had said, good news, Alan. I'm guessing that's on the transit feasibility study.
Yes, we haven't forgotten, and we definitely understand the importance of it. So I went too far on that.
That was good discussion. Thank you for your feedback on that. So next, we'll just briefly go over some of the budget tables. So there's two types of budget tables, which is seen in table 3 summary. So you have the top is the audible budget, which is the breakdown of personnel, fringe, leave, travel, equipment, supplies, reproduction, contractual, and other indirect costs. And then you have the task budget, which is seen at the bottom, and those are broken out by the task codes, or the ally codes. So each task falls within one of the ally codes, and that's the total budget for the tasks. So we did not send the budget tables, we'll review them briefly. There's one summary table for the PL and MPP funds. Then there's a summary of just the PL funds. FHW, I think it's easy, and everything just rolls into that year's program. FTA's MPP funds, there's a summary table, but each grant year stays within its year. So every grant year that's open will have its own separate table. And then finally, we have a task table, which did go out with the narrative and the meeting materials. And that task table just shows what funding for each task, whether it's the PL funds, the MPP funds, what the state matches, and then the local match. And that's at the very end. So let me run through the opportunity for comments, and then we can briefly look at the draft. So today we'll look at the narrative and budgets. If anyone has any changes that they would like to make, please let us know now. I guess today or tomorrow, we'll send our draft budgets to NISOT for their review. And concurrently through that process, we'll also send out the draft for 14 days of public comment. So to submit comments, you can email them to the OCTC staff at octc@orangecountygov.com. You can also submit them via mail, and the address is provided on the slide. If you need assistance in accessing the materials or providing public comment, you can call OCTC at 845-615-3840. We will be happy to answer any questions or assist anyone in leaving public comments. And finally, we will send the final draft out with the public notice before the February 28th meeting. So there may be a few rounds of the drafts. The budgets might change slightly based on NISOT's review of the budget tables. We don't anticipate any large changes, but there may be some adjustments there, as well as adjustments to the final estimates, but they should be within the ballpark.
Very good.
And
Thank
I
you,
just have
Lauren.
one comment.
Was there a comment?
Yes.
So
I just
Alan, you didn't go too far.
Yes. Thanks for it.
Yes.
I saw it pop up there.
Okay. No, that's good. Next, we're gonna go on to new
We're just gonna
business.
run, sorry, I just want to run through real quick, so
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
show, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So you want to start at
Yes.
the beginning? Just scroll all the way to
Yeah, it's going. There we go.
okay,
It's
so
going.
this is the draft
Yes.
PWP, so next page. We have our Title VI non-discrimination statement in there. Table of contents will need to be updated, but the UPWP, it starts with the introduction, talks about what OCTC in the transportation management area, who the members of the council are, and then we go into some of the program highlights from last year's UPWP or the current year, as well as a funding overview. And then we break down how we get to each of the funds, or how the state gets to the different funds. Then we have the state organizations. So this comes before we get our annual allocation. We support NISAMPO's staff, NISAMPO's training, AMPO dues, and the Shared Transit Service Planning and Analytics Initiative. There's also a list of state planning and research, or SPR, projects. And so that's, I think, 4 pages worth of tables. So, if you have any interest, you can view those. And then we get into our planning priorities. As we said, these are the 10 federal planning factors. And then you want to go to the next page. Then we have our the planning emphasis areas and our local planning priorities as well. And then we get into the UPWP. This is the planning factors by the task descriptions. So then we get into all of the tasks. So like I said, the ally codes are going to be at top, that 44.21.00 program support and administration. That's the ally code. So all the tasks that fall within that ally code are listed below. So we did not add anything to that section. The next is the general planning. And there's a little narrative under each ally code to describe what the ally code is. If you want to keep scrolling, we didn't change too much to the existing language. The LRTP, we updated language because we are looking to update the LRTP this year. So we're going to kick into high gear with that project soon. And then this is also where the new task is for the connecting communities. There it is. Yeah. And then same transportation, these different initiatives for planning and programming, which are staff supported. We're still prioritizing local and regional transit planning. We're trying to get more staff time onto that as well. It's a big initiative. And then some of the freight planning and whatnot. The next is the project level. So these will be some of the studies we hope to take on. The countywide transit feasibility study. We're looking to work with our transit team to update the cooperative community transportation and planning assistance plan. The sidewalk district feasibility study, that was a call for projects, I think in 2019, as part of the cooperative community planning program. That we sent out an RFQ on. We did not select any vendors, so we will be sending that back out, rebidding that in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So look out for that. We do hope to complete that in the next 6 months or so.
Sorry. Go on ahead there.
Yeah, so TIP, other activities. And then finally, so we'll get to the budgets. So this is the summary table for all of the funds, PL and FTA funds combined. Top is the audible, lower is the task budget. So yeah, a lot of that's contractual. We plan to have a lot of contractual work. So that's the highest budget line for OCTC this year. And then I don't know if we want to go through each of these, but you can just, there's the FTA, the PL. If you want to go to the end to the final task budget.
There we go.
Yeah, so this breaks out each of the tasks and it's grouped by ally code, and that will show you the sum of all the sources, whether it's the PL funds or the MPP funds, and then the total federal, whether it's the toll credit or the in-kind work, and then the total state, and then the local total as well. So please review. If you have any questions, please let us know. Yeah, so we hope to get this nice out for review and then go out for the 14 days public comment.
Very good. Lauren, thank you. There's a lot of work into creating those tables. That's one task I don't get directly involved in. So I want to compliment the team for Lauren and Raina for getting that together. Anything left on unified planning work?
Any questions, comments?
If you have any, just let us know.
Yep.
So we're gonna go on to new business. I'm gonna ask Lauren to cover it, and it's starting with the endorsement of the target sport performance measures.
Yes, so we are introducing 3 performance measures. We are proposing to support the statewide performance target measures for the national highway system and interstate freight performance, as well as the congestion management, air quality performance measures. So we'll present them today, and we will seek action from the council at the February 28th meeting. So there's three main performance measures we'll look at today. The first is the level of travel time reliability. Do you want to just go to the next one? Anna? So it's defined as two measures. The first is the percent of person miles traveled on the interstate that are reliable. And the second is the percent of person miles traveled on the non-interstate national highway system that are reliable. So the performance measures are percentages of that. So we're saying the first one on the level of travel time reliability on the interstate is 75% reliable, and the level of travel time reliability on the non-interstate NHS is 70% reliable. So it's the state targets, and we're going to propose to endorse those state targets. The next is the truck travel time reliability index. So that's the freight performance measure. And that compares longer truck travel time, or the 95th percentile, to the average truck travel time, which is the 50th percentile for each reporting segment of the interstate highway system. So that will be one measure for the 2024, the 2-year and the 4-year 2026 performance years. And that's for both is the 2.0 is what we're supporting. And then the last is the on-road mobile source emissions, which is the congestion management air quality program performance measure for total emissions reduction. And that's for monitoring on-road mobile source emissions. So they're looking at 4 source criteria pollutants: nitrogen oxides, or NOx, the volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, carbon monoxide, CO, and particulate matter, both the PM10 and the PM2.5. So the measure uses data from the CMAQ public access system to measure the amounts of these criteria pollutants that are reduced statewide for states with non-attainment areas that have projects with CMAQ funding. That was a mouthful. For more information, we sent around the fact sheets. All the information is in there. Please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll look to support all 3 of those targets at the next possible meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Next, I'd like to go on to the 2020 census urban areas. So on December 29th, 22, the Federal Register released the 2020 census qualifying urban areas, and the final criteria clarifications were published therein as well. Significant findings related to the Orange County Transportation Council and the Poughkeepsie-Newburgh, New York UZA is that there's a split between Poughkeepsie-Newburgh, New York, New Jersey UZA. We will no longer be connected to New Jersey, and there's been a drop in population of approximately 25%. There is a new urbanized area, the urbanized area of Curious Joel. And that new urbanized area not only includes the village town of Curious Joel, but also portions of the surrounding communities, including Monroe, town of Blooming Grove, and South Blooming Grove. Now we're still trying to understand what the funding implications are for our MPO, and as we learn more, we'll keep the council apprised. We added some resources there, and I guess I just want to talk about the maps. So there's 3 maps up on the screen. The map to the left is the 2010 urbanized area, and the map in the center shows the. Let me back up. So we have the map showing the 2010 census urbanized area with populations of greater than 50,000. which intersects Orange County, Middletown, New York, and Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, New York, New Jersey. The middle map is showing the 2020 census urban area with those areas with a population of greater than 50,000. So it includes not only the new urbanized area of Curious Joel, but as you know, Middletown has, for the past 2 decades, been its urbanized area as well. The map to the right is an overlay of the 2010 and the 2020 urbanized areas. The orange areas are the areas in 2010 and 2020 Middletown urbanized area. Yellow is showing the new urban area added to the 2020 Middletown urbanized area. And the dark pink red areas in 2010 urban area, but not in the 2020 Middletown urbanized area. Purple showing up on the map equals those areas in 2010 and 2020 within the Poughkeepsie Newburgh urban area. The blue, new urban area added to the 2020 Poughkeepsie Newburgh urbanized area, and the light pink equals areas in 2010 urbanized area, but not in the 2020 Poughkeepsie Newburgh urbanized area. One thing that you'll see is there's portions of obviously the Hudson River that have been subtracted. And the green showing up on that map is the new Curious Joel urbanized area. So as we learn more about this, we'll keep the council apprised. There is, if you go to some of the links that we shared, there's some facts that the FDA provides, and as we learn more about that, we'll come back to the council.
What does
Alan?
getting 25% mean? What does that encompass?
So if you can see in 2010, that pink was the Poughkeepsie Newburgh urbanized area.
Yep.
Because it split out, the
Okay.
population dropped by 25%.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not that.
Not 25%, okay.
Yeah,
We haven't had an outflux of residents.
no.
All right. We are going to pull you into the other meeting if you get a chance. So whether it's appropriate for it, just come into the next meeting for us.
Yeah, I'll have 2 minutes.
Yep, no
Okay.
problem.
Yes.
Mr. Grimes, that's just for everybody. Mr. Grimes,
Yes,
new house is gonna leave by 11:30, so just come by whenever you're free,
Okay.
but it's gotta be before 11:30.
before 11:30, okay.
I apologize for not being here today, guys, but Alan and Lauren, they know more than I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
So John Ravello commented, the small piece to the southeast of Middletown is Village of Goshen. Yes, it is. So if you see in
Yes.
2010, it was connected through Route 17 to Goshen. It's no longer connected, but it's still part of the Middletown urban area. So yes, you are correct, John.
It doesn't look like it still is, not in the new map.
It's not connected, but it's still part of the Middletown urban area.
Yeah.
With the yellow.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to,
Alan,
yes.
sorry, this is Olu from MTA. I just want to ask you this question on this this sensor information that came out. You say you don't know the funding implication at this time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And secondly, the NTD is determined based on the population. Do you know what the impact of the population is going to be on the outcome of the NTD?
What the population for the,
Yeah, the NTD calculations depends on the population. So I don't know whether your population is decreasing based on this new demography or not.
I don't know the exact number. I know we're still over the 200,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the Newburgh, the Poughkeepsie Newburgh urbanized area is still a TMA.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
All right, so on the carbon reduction program, the focus of the program is prioritize getting cars off the road by enhancing bike pedestrian network connectivity, increasing opportunities to use alternative transportation, So we'll be working to identify projects as part of the Connected Communities Task in the Unified Planning Work Program, as well as with New York State DOT on the carbon reduction strategy. CRP funds may be obligated for projects that support reduction of transportation emissions, including but not limited
I
to.
don't think you need to go through the entire.
Yeah, it's
We
kind
can
of short.
share the eligibility via email.
It's all on
Yes.
there. We do have a potential project in mind, which is Mike Sweeten has spoken about the pedestrian trail in Warwick that's been before the council. I know I've reached out to Sandra's office to see whether we can utilize carbon reduction funds for that project, and if we can, I think that may be a good use of funds.
Is that what your question was? I don't feel like you had a specific project. Was it?
Yeah, it was
Was?
the Warwick one.
Okay, Nicole, is that your understanding of the question? I think we seem to.
I had thought the question was more about, well, where the funding could be spent,
Yeah.
specifically the Middletown money. I thought that was more the question.
I think I might need that.
I think we were asking kind of both, but yeah,
I
okay.
think, yeah, do you mind? All right, well, I think it would be helpful, instead of it being a generic question, it might not get the
Send a
attention
specific
it needs.
project.
Yeah, can you be more, can you follow up on that email and be more specific? Because I
Yes.
think we'll be able to get an answer quicker.
Okay.
That's why I'm
Okay,
bringing it up.
all right.
Okay.
Will do. Okay. If there are no further comments on the carbon reduction, I am going to jump to reports, OCTC staff reports, and project updates.
I gotta go to that other.
I think we gave a lot of those during the UPWG.
I think we did, yeah, we covered Route 17M, Lauren covered a sidewalk, LRTP.
Yeah.
Any updates from the members?
Oh, do you want me to talk about Bridge in New York yet? Tell me
Yes,
when you're ready
please.
for that, okay.
Yeah.
So just real quick, Bridge New York this year is being done a little bit differently. Each of the MPOs across the state was provided planning target, and then the MPOs are using their standard like planning process for programming the funds available. OCTC has 6.25 million available to program for bridge improvement. You received 7 bridge applications that are seeking 19 million. So, you know, I think the scoring team has its work cut out for it. With that said, though, I think that OCTC does have 4 million in off-system bridge unprogrammed. So, you know, that does afford you guys some opportunity, maybe once the scoring is done, if you want to consider, you know, programming more. I've asked each of the teams, we have 6 teams right now in the Hudson Valley doing this effort. OCTC being one of the teams. And I've asked for the teams to really kind of wrap this up no later than preferably before February 28th.
Okay.
Which should not be a
Okay.
problem because your team has, I think, at least 3 meetings scheduled to get together and,
Yeah.
you know, look at your scores and, so when's your next meeting? Is on February 28th, right?
Oh,
yes.
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 Yeah, so, maybe at that point, you know, Alan will have information based on
Yes.
what we received from the scoring team
Okay.
that you can share with the group.
Yeah, we'll be sure to get you our scores prior to.
Yeah, and we have a New York State DOT staff person on each of the scoring teams, so they're really being the conduit for me. So, you know, Nicole is your
Yeah.
team captain.
She's been
Nicole.
great.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yep.
Nicole.
Thank you,
is the team
Nicole.
Captain. So, you know, hopefully we'll have some information at the next meeting and then we'll need to send though our final selection up to our Albany office. I think it's April 1st. So, you know, we definitely have some time in there. But everything's seems to be coming together. Herb, do you have any questions based on that?
Actually, yeah. How many culverts were submitted for Orange County?
Oh, yeah, sorry, 16 culverts, were submitted seeking 17 million.
The culverts are statewide though.
Yep, so the culverts are being done, separately, that's going through just the state aid, there's federal aid involved. And, our office,
Which program is that through?
that is part, they consider it part of Bridge New York,
Okay.
but it's like a culvert-only subgroup, and there's no federal aid involved.
Okay.
We could submit for either a bridge or a culvert.
Yeah.
Different criteria.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, yep, so, yep, we've got 16 of those applications. We're reviewing those, more like region-wide, which is the Hudson Valley. So we're looking at those along with Ulster County culverts that were submitted, Columbia County, Westchester, Dutchess, Putnam, and Rockland.
How much funding is available for the culvert program?
They did not give out, planning target for the individual regions. So what we've been tasked with is basically ranking them. And then we'll submit that to our Albany office and we'll work with them on final project selection.
Is there a limit to the amount?
I know that the max for the bridges was 5 million, yeah. Nicole, what's the maximum award for a culvert project? Is it?
Lauren, you can just say.
1.5 million.
Yeah, it's 1.5. Sorry.
Yeah, the most you could get for your culvert is 1 million.
Sorry, I've been pulled into another meeting. So thank you for the update.
That I knew. I didn't know what the max was.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care.
Good question, Herb, sorry, I meant to mention that, thank you.
Any other updates from NISAT?
No.
Okay, MTA, Olu, do you have any updates?
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you, Olu. Nista, Laura, do you have any updates for us?
None at this time.
Thank you. I don't think there's anyone from Port Authority. OCDPW, I think Brian or Travis, are you on the call?
This is Travis. I'm on the call. We don't have any updates right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. And then Rob, Transit, do you have any updates for the group?
I can't give an update now. No one else has an update.
NISA had an update.
Yeah. Thanks, Anna.
No, I think a lot of it was covered already. Some of the transit work.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
I'm kind of new to this. I've been in and out, but is there a dictionary that you guys create for acronyms?
I actually have one. I actually do.
Do you? Yeah, I would love it because.
So it's a working dictionary, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
We will get that.
I'll send that over to you.
I know.
Absolutely. Aren't you glad I did it?
Was there anyone on the line that had anything to add? Herb, you have your hand raised?
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes. One other quick question. At the last meeting, I had asked if the selection committee for Bridge New York was going to give any extra points for bridges that were previously submitted in previous years and were not selected. In the old system where there were when it was selected by statewide, they would give additional points for bridges that were not selected in previous years. And the last I knew, OCTC said they would take it under advisement, but I never heard whether that is going to be considered by the selection committee.
So I think what I would recommend is that my understanding is OCTC is following the recommended scoring template that was provided by New York State DOT, which is on the Bridge New York website. So Herb, you could, but we can send it to you too to make it much easier. We'll send you the scoring criteria so you can take a look at it.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other comments or questions? Just one reminder, the next policy board meeting is Tuesday, February 28th in this room at 1 p.m. In-person quorum is required. So I will be sending out emails to make sure we have quorum. And I believe that's it. So I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All right, motion adjourned, or
Oh,
meeting
we got
adjourned.
we have a comment, Laura.
Oh,
before you- It's about the environmental.
Yes, okay, so
Justice 40.
with the UPWP, the CRP, the urban areas, I don't even know what time it is. It was a long meeting, so the environmental justice got pushed back. We reached out to the Nice Sample Working Group reached out to FHWA on clarifications for environmental justice requirements as well as equity requirements in the Justice 40 initiative. We received some feedback, but we still had a lot of questions. So we were hoping to have a conversation with FHWA for more guidance before we came back to the members with more information. We don't want to come to you with the wrong information. So that is still on the agenda. It just had to be pushed based on the amount of work that went on in
Did you
January.
also include Mike Flynn on those?
Yes.
If you have any meetings with FHWA
Yes.
regarding that? Okay. That's really important. You guys meet with FHWA directly. Always think of including someone from New York State DOT.
It's not, it was the working group.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then he should already be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Please add that into the record and thanks on the behalf of Curious Joel. Okay, I think it's in the
Got it.
meeting recording.
Yes.
We'll send out the transcript. If it's not as recorded, please let us know. We can update it.
Excellent.
And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you,
Great.
everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.